My people, what is going on? This is Kari with Temple of Geek, and I am joined today with my amazing colleague, Nick. We are here today because we are going to discuss Arcane Season 2, Episodes 1 through 3. Arcane has been such a phenomena when it comes to like video game stories that we get that are, being told on Netflix. And thankfully it has been successful that we were able to get a season 2 because the story is amazing. It hasn't been canceled. Thank you, Netflix. I appreciate you for that.
Well, two things. First of all, this will contain spoilers.
Yes.
So our talking will contain spoilers. So this is your spoiler warning. We're only talking about the first 3 episodes. So go watch the first 3 episodes that are already out and then come back and watch this. The second thing is, though, from what the showrunners were saying, is that season 2 is going to wrap up this particular storyline. So we don't have to wait like 5 seasons for these storylines to, at least the main storylines for this with our characters, to wrap up, which means season 2 is probably no holds barred. They're probably not going to hold back anything on us. I mean, the first season already made us cry enough.
It was intense for sure. But the good, it is sad because this is going to be the last season for this particular story. But Netflix did say that we're going to get other stories within the League of Legends universe. So we could look forward to that at least. So that's good news.
So if you remember at the end of season 1, if you don't, real quick wrap up, of course, there's a showdown with like Caitlyn and Vi and Jinx, who used to be called Powder. There's this big showdown that happened. And of course, they decided to not off each other. But then the last thing that we see is Jinx shooting a rocket launcher, or whatever you want to call it, in that world towards the council. Like, so in the big building, the scene of the council, and all you see is that heading towards, and then the season ends, and then you have to wait 2 years to find out what happens. And of course, we open on the immediate aftermath of that, which is you're opening with like already, that heaviness to it, and what happens there, and it already starts off hard because you're already losing a couple characters. You lose what do I want to say? One of the mothers.
Caitlyn's mom.
Is it Caitlyn's mother? Thank you.
Caitlyn's
There's so many
mom,
names in this. I'm gonna totally mess up.
It's a lot. Yeah. Oh no, yeah. We got our notes because there's no way.
And of all the people that we lose, that's kind of the more prominent one because of it's Caitlyn's mom, who we see a lot in season 1.
Mm-hmm. I mean, well, at least we got, Mel and Jay survived, which that was like one of my main concerns. I figured Jay's would probably, because he's such a big character in the story, but I was like thinking, Mel is gonna probably be dead, and then her mom is already nuts. It's gonna go even more crazy, but thankfully she survived, so we got that. And what's his name? Salo? How do you pronounce his name? The little creepy blonde dude. Salo, right? That's Salo. I don't.
Yeah. I don't remember the creepy dude's names easily.
Salo, yeah. but of course he was left, hurt and stuff. But now he's like full of resentment, and now he wants to like just take it out on anybody and everybody in Zaun, in the underground city. So that's kind of like the start of the story. Basically, they want to. Yeah, they want an all out invasion of the Undercity. They don't want to be able to like negotiate with anyone, trying to talk down with anybody. They just want to go ahead and go in, and obviously that's going to cause major chaos.
This is something that, I mean, it hits so many real world scenarios, right? Like when your home is attacked, even if you're the privileged, like you want to seek revenge. Like the whole like idea is not how do we resolve this? It's like, even if it's 1 or 2 people that create this from somewhere else, like the idea is like, oh, we want to hit back. And that is such a real world thing. And you're watching this going like, no, that's just going to make it worse. But that doesn't matter because people are reacting emotionally. And that's exactly what they do, what they set up. Like everybody's reacting emotionally, and it's all based on fear and anger and hurt and suffering. And that's pretty much how season 2 just gets going.
Yeah,
is based around these feelings.
Yeah. So, but before we get really into details, what did you think so far of the first 3 episodes and how seasons 2 started?
Honestly, one of the things that is surprising me the most on how this season is setting up is based on the characters' storylines in the first season and where I thought their characters were going. Where their characters are going now is different than what I had kind of like imagined based on the first season. But of course, with different tragedies, like people are going to react in different ways. But yeah, it's refreshingly surprising, if that makes sense, that I wasn't able to necessarily predict what every single person is going to do or where their stories are going to go. So for me, I think the first three episodes were difficult because it's all based in hurt and tragedy, and that's where people are kind of living. But it's what I want to say. It's refreshing storytelling, if that makes sense. They're not trying to be like super predictable or put pigeonhole anybody into one particular role. Like everybody has an ebb and flow. And so that for me is refreshing in the first three episodes and makes me excited for where they're going with season two.
Mm-hmm.
How about you? Your feelings?
I agree with the sentiment that is I love that it's very unpredictable, and also it did tug at the heart. It's very emotional because you see everybody going through their own way of coping with what happened and how they're dealing with Jinx's actions, especially V and Vi and Caitlyn, being that they're probably one of the most affected about it because that Jinx is Vi's sister and Caitlyn's mother was killed, right? So I've loved Arcane since season one, and I already knew that this story was gonna be, it was gonna elevate it. The only thing that right now is like kind of like setting me back with it is that there's so many storylines that sometimes it could feel a little bit convoluted and a little bit, and now they're adding these other lores and stories and stuff, right? And it's like a little bit confusing, like, whoa, where are we going with this? What is going on? Like sometimes you're like, wait, I have to rewind this because it's kind of hard, a little bit hard to follow. But other than that, yeah, I'm loving it so far.
Yeah, that to me is difficult because it'd be one thing if it was cut up in such a way where you kind of like cut back and forth as you're going along so you can kind of remember that. But sometimes you're going from like one episode and then the next episode deals with a different story, more so. And then by the time you get back to that other storyline, you have to be like, wait, what? Where were? Oh, that's right. They were doing this thing or at this place. And so that part is sometimes hard to keep up with, especially with so many characters. And then you add new characters to a new season, and yeah, and I sometimes I just have to nod and smile at my own TV. I'm like, yeah, sure,
Okay.
yeah, this is where we
That's
were.
fine. Listen, and I think another other thing that's kind of like making it a little bit even more like heck a lot is the fact that they're now starting to add more hextech lore. Now we're starting to really get into what the arcane is and what is going on, and that's like a lot as well to try to like figure out and comprehend.
This season is definitely making me remember why they call it Arcane. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that is a central aspect to this. It's the name of the show. Because like at first, the first season is kind of like just like exploring it, and now it's like, oh yeah, I guess we need to
Oh,
know more about
okay.
that. That
Yes,
would
now
be
we're going
helpful.
back. Yeah, because I think the first season was more character driven, right? It was more about the characters and their stories and their personal stuff. But now we're adding all this. Now I mean, obviously the hashtag was there, but it wasn't like a bigger part of the whole story. And now it's all coming in, getting all mixed in together. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot. So guys, you need to follow along very carefully.
Yeah, there's definitely going to as you're going along. There's going to be a lot of back and forth with these different aspects to the arcane. So check in on that when you're getting some sort of lore. Just like bookmark that in your brain because then you're going to have to compute something else of a different angle on things. Yeah, that part is going to need a rewatch for me to like fully understand
Yeah.
it.
And don't go. I mean, I would say Google is your friend, but I've heard people that have played the game say that not to because then it's gonna spoil way too much, before we get the whole season. So don't Google it. Just stick with it, even though it's confusing.
I mean, maybe like Google like show specific things, not the full arcane, not the full League of Legends storyline. But who knows? They could, that, just like, because they're a TV show, they don't have to adhere to all the game storylines necessarily. But yeah, so so as far as getting into a little bit of the nitty gritty, the one thing that I should say that surprised me the most in the first 3 episodes, and I'm going to kind of spoil all 3 episodes,
Yeah, no,
is
we could do
Caitlyn. Yeah, Caitlyn is the most surprising thing to me. Because we see that very end of episode 3, we see like Caitlyn, like, first off, like, just be full of anger and rage and hate, really in that because of her grief and wanting revenge, and like deciding to when Ambessa pulls a 180 on a little creepy blonde dude, is putting her in charge. But I mean, it's such a brilliant move on Ambessa's part, because if you want to cause the most damage, you got to put somebody in charge who also wants to cause the most damage. And the fact that she at that point is willing to take the reins on this, it's like, oh, that's the one thing I really didn't see coming from season 1, is like Caitlyn going kind of dark.
Yes. No. I because in season 1 we see Caitlyn, she's such like a kind-hearted, sweet type of person, but she didn't seem as secure about herself and her decisions and stuff in the first season. But now this season, already starting with her like being sure about herself, being sure about the decisions that she's making and what she wants to do. And like you said, that grief really gave her that motivation to do that. So that was like, all right, Caitlyn, you know what? Go ahead, do you, girl.
I guess the Vi's storyline, when it happened to me, I'm like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Of Vi, of course, being like, screw the system, but can't stay away from helping, can't stay away from doing good. Basically, you're kind of anti-hero. It's just kind of like, you see the people in need, you see the bad guys, and you've got to do something. So that to me is obvious. And then when she actually took the medallion to become one of them, to go full force, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. I don't necessarily think, this is going to be Vi's outcome, but like story wise, that starts to make sense. And of course, till the end of episode 3, when you see like things kind of parting ways with her and Caitlyn. But yeah, so Vi's still kind of on a similar trajectory in my mind, trying to just figure out where she's going to land in all this.
Especially when it comes
as kind of our main hero. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially when it's legit, because she's still very conflicted regardless. That's still her sister. She wants to help out and,
Yeah, I mean, like, no matter what, like, even if you're like, oh, Powder's lost, like, there's still that internal thing of like, that's still my sister, and that's got to be rough. But yeah, that's, to me, Vi is still kind of like on track of like where I would think someone like that would go. And of course, going down a little dark path of like drinking and fighting. I'm like, that sounds like Vi.
That's Vi. That's totally Vi. Absolutely loved, like, one of the things that I guess a lot of people that, love that Vi and Caitlyn ship is that they finally get a freaking kiss together. So guys, simps, you're gonna be happy. Yeah, I know you're happy with that one. but I love that they were at least able to kind of like, advance in that part of their relationship, because we already know that they'd had some type of feelings for each other. It's just, of course, everybody's always have to be so cryptic about everything when they feel something for somebody and stuff. So, but I'm happy that at least we got that result in those episodes.
I mean, where we go from, the first 3 episodes, we'll see. But yeah, that's something that, you wait a couple of years on, and
yeah,
it's nice to have that.
Yes. And one thing that I wanted to bring up that's very big, that Victor's still alive and Jace is keeping him alive with hex technology.
This is the most like question mark aspect, where like Arcane comes into play, and you're watching this, you're like, I have no idea where they're going with this, but since I didn't play the game, but I love not knowing and
Yeah, yeah,
as long as
yeah.
they
Of
tell me
course.
what it is later on.
No, but it's very interesting though. It's really, really interesting. I guess, we get this whole notion of, this, I don't know if Arcane is some type of technological living organism or something, and it's able to fuse with Victor and turn Victor into some type of, again, bio or organism or something. I don't know. It's very weird. But it's also very cool that we get Victor being able to, do these things now. Like, one of the major things is healing people that have been, messed up with the shimmer. That's what it's called, shimmer. Yeah, the shimmer. Yeah, and actually, not only people, but also, the plants and the soil and everything around him.
Yeah, it kind of gives me this sense that when it comes to all these things that are happening, there's like kind of a light and dark aspect to magic or what to the arcane. I kind of feel like there's like conflicting things going on in the world. So it'll be interesting to see how that's going. And then Victor in the first season was seemingly one of the people that had kind of one of the more better moral codes in a lot of ways, but still made mistakes. And now is trying to be better and trying to not make the same mistakes. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens with like Bio Victor now.
Bio Victor.
Bio Victor with being fused with the hex tech. Yeah, well, to see kind of what direction that takes. With great power, what does that do to somebody like that?
And then again, we see that Arcane is very unpredictable. We don't know what to make of it, especially when we see, because we see, what's the little rat's name, Heimerdinger.
Heimerdinger.
Heimerdinger is with Echo, and they break into, Jace's laboratory, and they finally meet up with him, and they actually go down to where, I don't know, the main generator thing is, and then you see them disappear. The Arcane takes them, and it's just very trippy, because it changes their surroundings somehow. I don't know if they end up in some type of other alternate universe or what, but they just disappear. So we don't even know if that's like a benign or something bad that the Arcane is trying to do to them. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that later on with the rest of the episodes, how that's going to, kind of resolve itself.
Yeah, I like after watching these first 3 episodes, it creates more questions than answers. But I guess that's if they're doing this in 3 acts, that makes sense. You're doing a lot of setup. But yeah, this act one, yeah, it basically kind of sets everything up of all the questions that I hope to have answered down the road. Especially the arcane is the biggest question mark for me. Like people's storylines, you can follow along and kind of figure that out. But right now, it's like, what is the arcane, and that's really what I hope that they explore and they don't shy away from in giving us that kind of like magical aspect, or maybe it's not magical. I don't know. Like we'll find out what elements we're actually dealing with, because like it was such a mystery in season one that they had barely tapped into it, and now like a lot of doors are opening. Quite like literally with like seemingly like dimensions. That'll be really interesting to see where they go with that. Yeah, and it's like seeing this first 3 episodes, like the idea that sorry, I'm shifting gears, but the idea that there's been this power vacuum now that Silco's gone, that there's so much of these 3 episodes are filling the power vacuums, because you've got council seats. Like the council is kind of all up in the air and they're trying to figure it out. You've got the underworld, quite literally underworld, and they're like, everybody's trying to like fight for dominance and control, and like everything is super unstable. And I guess that's how I would call these 3 episodes. Like everything is now unstable, like both with the arcane and both with the upper world and underworld. But there's like different levels of the underworld, which is interesting. You've got different layers to it.
I just like that. Yes. You have no, you're right. There's a hierarchy in the underworld as well. And because of this vacuum that Silco left, like you see all the gangs, all the different factions just fighting each other to try to to see who's going to rise up to the, to fill in that position, that hole that Silco left. And but then we see kind of Jinx still there. She's still in the kind of in the background though. Like she's not being as upfront like she was in season one right now for these first three seasons, right?
Yeah, definitely not wanting to be involved. Like, with her supposed like kind of dad in Silco, like him being gone, her having already, caused a lot of pain and suffering, and she just is just kind of like floating there at the moment and not really sure where she belongs. And that's interesting because, that's where in a character that can go a lot of different directions when somebody's kind of figuring out where they belong, and kind of trying to relive some things from the past, but then things aren't the same, and where do you go from
Mhm.
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
Because I don't think she had a plan of after she decided to blow up the council upstairs. She's just like, I'm just going to do this and then we'll see, that was it. So she has no idea what to do, where to go, especially now that Silka's not there. So she has no type of, guidance as well.
yeah, she was never one with the plans. She was just chaos. That was her whole thing, like chaos. Like that's what she imbued. Like she had, she's got the devices. She was told to go blow up things. Like she wasn't the one in charge. She was just going with what the person that was raising her was. He had the big plans, and now she, she's got to figure out. Okay, she's got to figure out her own plans now. Where is she going to go? Because there's no, like, again, everything's unstable for her too. There's no solid foundation to build anything off of.
But I think okay. So I almost forgot this character that we got introduced to, the little girl Isha. So I think that's the one thing that I think, based on these three episodes, it's gonna be kind of like maybe a new purpose for Jinx. Trying to take care of this little girl, and trying to guide her now. Having to be responsible for somebody else now.
Yeah, it's very very much a 180 where she was always the little one, right? So like season one, she was always the kid. Even as Jinx, she was still the young one. And this little person, even if it's like at first unwilling connection, because this little kid is deciding to be in your life and looking up to you, having that, and now being able to be more in the position where Vi was in season one with Powder, like in that kind of earlier season. And I think that's probably gonna create more growth for Jinx more than anything else, is being able to have this connection and have this older sister kind of relationship with somebody. That it definitely puts you in a very different position when you're caring for somebody, not being cared for.
Be cared for. Yeah. And maybe, I don't know, because of that, and, hopefully in that character growth, she kind of can see the position that Vi had to be in, having, when they were little kids, Vi having to be the one taking care of her. So now she's going to know what it feels like to have to do what Vi used to do when she was little, and hopefully that'll help her with that growth and later on in the episodes.
Yeah, especially like, at the end of season one, you kind of by the end of it, you make Jinx the villain. By the end of that episode, I mean, Silco's the real villain for most of that season. But still at the very end of it, you think, oh, what direction you're going to go? But then they go full tilt on chaos and destruction. But where do you go with a character like that? Obviously, like, because if they continue to be the villain, that's not really that interesting. But you introduce a relationship like that, and I think with that relationship, you're going to see a lot of changes in kind of that character's story arc. Where are they going to go with Jinx? Who knows? I mean, that, like, as we've seen, like, anybody at any time can be like tilted back to like destruction.
Always, especially Jinx. We already know she's still unstable. She's still, like you said, unstable is the theme of of the season already, and that's definitely what Jinx is. You don't know, you can never know which way she's gonna go. So I love that because again, always keeping you on your toes, trying to guess what her next move is gonna be.
And especially with that idea of, Vi and Jinx being kind of the central relationship of the first season. Like, you don't want that to just disappear for a second season. You've got to play on that. And with Jinx kind of being the older sister now to somebody, I think that's probably gonna change a lot of dynamics down the road. Something that is really interesting to me is the art style of the first season, right? Is fantastic. And then the way they use art and visuals and different types of almost like different types of comics stories,
Animation styles,
different types of
yeah.
different ways
Different
to
type of
animation
styles,
styles. Thank
yeah.
you.
Hmm.
But different types of styles to story tell. They definitely up that a notch in this season, and you see that like from episode one. Like they definitely use that to definitely change modes a lot. And so they've really upped the art style in this season. It kind of reminds me of Into the Spider-Verse, like that. Yeah, like that. Where do you go with like after such an epic first movie, and then they play with more of the art styles. It's very much in the vein, that kind of vein of how they're playing with this, and I find that very intriguing.
Oh no, it's beautiful. I think what one thing that can never be, denied about Arcane, it's the animation. It's absolutely like out of this world. It's so good, so stylistic. The colors, the way they use the colors to tell the story, like they did in Spider Verse, because they did the same thing. Depending on the mood, depending on what the theme is, and just the style that they use for certain scenes and everything. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, just like having such. Actually, also what I've also heard is like the Arcane is like so expensive. I haven't looked at the actual numbers, but I've seen articles of like how costly this is. But you get like such an all star cast for voice acting. You put so much into the art style and like the music, because music is such a integral part of of this. Like, I mean, just even the beginning of every episode is a record being put on. But just everything they do, like they're not holding back on anything, and it shows. And that's something that I appreciate. Like, to actually go all in on a project, especially like, no offense, but especially like so many shows on Netflix, that can get expensive, right? Like, but like you put something like that behind people who know what they're doing for a show, and then you see the result.
Oh no, absolutely. And I'm all in if that's it, because we see that this money is getting utilized the right way. And I really do hope that they're paying the animators, how they're what they
I know.
deserve, because that's very important. They need to get paid for giving us such beauty and all the work that I'm pretty sure that goes in something like this.
Yeah, I know. I know. Most likely, they're not paid nearly as much as they should be. So, if you're watching this and you worked on the show, or in any capacity, we see the work that goes behind it. So, we applaud you for everything that you're doing, because it's amazing. If whether you're in animation, whether you're in the production side of things, doesn't matter. Like, your work is definitely being shown, and that's fantastic. So well done, all of you. I know you
Beautiful.
don't get enough credit. None of you get enough credit.
No, this is something that they really do need to. Netflix really needs to make sure that they take care of these people that are doing this, because of them, the show has been. It is a big part of why this show is such a success. You know.
Yeah, I was thankfully at the premiere
Oh,
a
that's
couple weeks
right.
ago.
Talk to us
Yeah,
about
I
it a
got I
little
got to
bit.
go to that.
Yes.
So first, yeah. So we're side quest right now in the podcast. The red carpet was amazing, fantastic. I wasn't able to stay for the premiere itself, but we thankfully with the screeners we got to see. But yeah, the it was just beautiful. It was gorgeous. It was obviously like, this is a big show for something just an animated streaming show. This was like kind of like a movie premiere type of setup. Because I've been to some red carpets, and this was probably one of the more epic ones. And just everybody showing up, like being able to talk to some of the cast members, and obviously they're not going to give spoilers, but definitely the feeling behind it is you don't know what's going to happen with each of these characters or where their story is going to go. That is essentially like the vibe that I got from a lot of the people talking to a lot of the cast, and that makes me excited because like I want to go on that ride. But yeah,
And you can see that
everybody was
already
like
in
super
the first
nice,
three
super
episodes.
friendly.
Yeah.
And just it goes, and everybody who was part of the project, you can see the love behind it, right? Like they're invested. It's not just another job, like they're invested in this show, whether it be from like the main cast to everybody else. Yeah, it was pretty awesome to be able to be there and to see that and experience that.
Oh my god, I saw the clips and the interviews. It was so freaking cool. And the red carpet, yeah, it looked like they went all out on that.
Oh yeah, and now the fact that Temple of Geek got to be there is is like thank you Netflix, thank you Arcane people.
No, that was really, really cool. I love it. And did you get to talk to any of like maybe the showrunners or anybody?
Yeah, the main showrunner did got to talk to the main showrunner. The interesting thing about, obviously these interviews are like a couple minutes long, but in talking to the main showrunner is that really a big emphasis on the creation of this show is because of being real fans of the game. And so when it comes to that idea of doing a show justice based on like a video game, because most video game shows or movies just they're terrible. It's really hard to make a video game turn it into a TV show or movie and make it successful. But I think it is the love for the fandom, the care for the stories, the characters. I think that was the real emphasis, is like that idea of really wanting to take these characters and not just like make a cliche show that you see so often, that you're really taking this, you're diving deep, and you have a real care for the fandom and the source material. And I think that's why it's so successful, because of that heart going into it. Yeah.
No, 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 of course. And I think, and I just want to take it back again to just real quick to the animation people, because like you said, not too many shows have been successful in bringing the video game story into like live action, right? But I think one of the biggest things that's helped Arcane is the fact that it was done in animation, not in live action. So they were able to really be able to like tell the story and bring us the magical elements that Arcane and that League of Legends, has in the game. That, from what I know, I've never played the game either, but I think the animation again played a very big part in them being able to tell the story in such a fantastic way.
And when watching the show, there isn't that like, oh, this is the video game moment. All that's blended in. Like, yeah, there are fight scenes and things that happen, but it's blended in such a way where it's just part of the story. You're not like, oh yeah, this is where in Mortal Kombat, like they go head to head and they say their like catchphrases, and
Yeah.
it's not that same exact setup. So yeah, it's again like it blends so nicely both with the artistry as well as the storytelling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, that we know that the people that worked in this show have so much love for it and so much respect for it that way. And thank you, Nick, for bringing us that information from the red carpet. That was awesome.
It was just a thrill to be able to get to talk to some of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, I can imagine that should have been, that must have been so cool.
Yes, yeah, Netflix. Anytime Netflix. Hook us up.
Temple
We're
of
ready.
Geek is
Temple of
always
Geek.
available.
Put us
Always.
in,
You already
coach.
know. Tag team, baby.
We'll
Let's
be
go.
there. We'll cover your stuff. Yeah. You've got East Coast and West Coast. We're ready.
Yeah, East Coast, West Coast, we got in Canada. Listen, we are worldwide, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Worldwide. Oh yeah, we've got other countries too. So yeah, we're ready.
Yeah, we're good.
Final thoughts?
Listen, I'm excited. I can't wait to see what the next episodes are gonna bring. Just real quick, we didn't touch about how Mbessa was the one that planned that
Oh,
whole
gee.
funeral, the funeral invasion. I mean, fiasco. So she's definitely somebody to be looking at as well, because she's doing a lot of things that are gonna affect everything that's going on, especially with Caitlyn, because it seems like she might be able to like influence Caitlyn a little bit too much.
Yeah, and Bessa does not get Mother of the Year award. It says
Absolutely
like
not.
the trying to pull the strings, trying to gain power and cause hurt, and that. And Bessa's definitely bad news.
Oh no! And speaking of Ambessa, we got now a new, I guess, group is the Black Rose. I think the witches that she was fighting. The Black Rose
Yeah,
that came
yeah. I'm trying.
after
Yeah,
her.
there's so many. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's called the Black Rose, and it was like the lady that came and
right.
she had
Okay.
a like witch. She was a witch, and she came to try to kill Ambessa. So now we have Ambessa. Now we know that Ambessa is having beef with some other group. So now we got to see what the heck is going on with that. It's a lot.
So
It is a
many.
lot. It's a lot. But
Yeah.
I can't wait, because I know from what we've seen in season 1, we know they're going to bring everything together and it's going to make sense. We just got to, again, always be patient and wait for the story to play out.
And it's really interesting that they're giving us 3 acts. This feels very much like a kind of a trilogy type of like
Yeah.
presentation with the 3 acts. And so I'm curious to see how each act develops.
Yeah. And I think, I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad that they're doing it like that, because again, I guess they're kind of learning that other platforms do the weekly thing with the episodes. So it gives people more time to talk about it, to keep it, on the socials. And with these people now, with just having 3 episodes, now now everybody's going to be talking about it until the next one comes out. So,
Yeah, that's, as a nerd and a geek, that is something that I always love. I always love to be able to like talk about it, not just like move on all of a sudden. Live in the nerddom.
Oh yeah, this is definitely going to be talked about. So.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, we are going to, every time a new act is coming out, we will be talking and nerding out about all of this. So join us for future episodes for the Arcanes, and you can nerd out and geek out with us.
Yes. Definitely, you guys, I'm telling you, you're not going to be disappointed. I think there's going to be a lot to talk about with the lore and all the characters and stuff. So can't wait for that.
And if you've stuck around this long, be sure to like the video and follow Temple of Geek on whatever channel you're watching this on.
Yes, please. Listen, we talk
stuck in
about
this
anything,
long,
everything.
Just click. Yeah.
That means you liked us. That means we're cool. You like what we're saying. So definitely there's way more. We talk about anything nerdy, pop culture. So lock in, guys, definitely. But no, thank you so much for everybody that joined us here. Thank you for sticking out if you're still here right now. And Nick, it was awesome. Nick, thanks so much for being here.
Great talking to you.
Oh, always. Heck yeah. And then we're definitely going to see each other for the next 2 acts. So again, guys, thank you so much. Kari with Temple of Geek, Nick with Temple of Geek. Nick, where can they find you and your socials, just real quick?
Oh, so I'm codename Fulcrum, codename_Fulcrum in like TikTok and things like that, YouTube. For Instagram, Nick_codename_Fulcrum. It's a lot, but yeah, and it's for all Star Wars stuff. So if you like Star Wars things,
listen, Nick is one of the big
Star
Wars content creators out there. So make sure to follow him if you love Star Wars.
Love it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Where can they find you?
Oh, it's Star Wars Tia. It's Star Wars Tia, ESTARGUARSTIA, because it's in Spanish, so I need to spell it out. But that's the same name for TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. So yeah. Oh yeah, we're obsessed. Me and Nick.
Yeah,
we're
not just
obsessed
Star Wars though. You talk about all the nerddoms. You go for all of them.
Oh yeah. I talk about everything, especially if they're trying to be toxic. But we'll talk about it another time. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.